Lately, I've been watching a lot of these what I spend in a week videos on YouTube, and I've noticed that a lot of them are from YouTubers that live in big cities like New York City and LA, and often their biggest expense in these videos tends to be rent. And rent is an expense that I don't have because I live in a van. Now, don't get me wrong, it's definitely really nice to not pay rent, but the thing is, van life also comes with other expenses that you don't normally have to pay if you lived in a regular apartment. So, is van life actually that much cheaper? Can you actually save money with van life? To answer that question, I thought it'd be really fun to track my spending for a week while living on the road in my van, and I want to do this video now because I'm actually transitioning out of full-time van life very soon. I just bought a condo in Mexico City, so as long as you promise not to judge me, let's get into the video. Good morning, guys. Let's get started with day one. I'm currently in beautiful Joshua Tree, and I usually get my morning started with a really big mason jar full of warm lemon water. So that will be my first expense for the day. I usually use about half an organic lemon. All right, now it's time to feed the dog. I usually feed him 3 of these freeze-dried raw patties twice a day, and it's quite expensive, but I think it's worth spending a little extra on healthy food and save on vet bills and medical bills later on. Sit. Okay. Okay, now that I fed the dog, it's time to feed myself. And yes, that is literally how I remember to feed myself. Otherwise, I always forget to eat breakfast. But when I do remember, I try to have a smoothie. I think there are really cheap and efficient ways to get a lot of good nutrients in you quickly. Oh my gosh, I meant to work for a really long time, but I ended up lying down and taking the most epic nap. Can you be quiet? And something I forgot to mention is I'm on my period this week, and we can't forget to factor in the costs of having a period. So I used to wear pads and tampons, so you have to buy a bunch of those every month. But a while ago, I switched over to menstrual cups and period-proof underwear. It has been a game changer, and I actually stocked up on a bunch of new ones over Black Friday, so that's how much that costs over here. And hey, it's about 3 p.m. right now, and I'm actually really hungry, so it's time to eat something. Alright, so it's not just my period, but I'm also feeling under the weather, which is why I've been so tired. So my friend Gemini over here is giving me this bottle. Well, she has a brand new one that I'm buying from her for 40 bucks, so that's another expense for the night. But apparently if I take a lot of these, I will wake up feeling much better. Next morning, I actually did wake up feeling much better. So after waking up, I did my usual morning routine of drinking lemon water, taking my supplements, having a smoothie, feeding Jupiter, etc., etc. And then I had to say goodbye to my friends and hit the road once again. Next stop is Las Vegas, where I own 3 rental properties. So I'm just going over there to take care of some paperwork. And I don't normally take these long kinds of road trips while living in the van, so we're gonna see how much gas costs add up. Alright, I'm literally driving in the middle of nowhere and have realized that I'm starving. This is one of those responsible decisions I'm going to be very happy I made. Normally, I would just keep on driving, and 2 hours later, I'd be so starving that I would just pull up anywhere and spend stupid money on really crappy junk food, even though I have a fridge full of healthy groceries. So I decided just to slow down my driving, take a stop, make something healthy. These like yummy nori wraps with kimchi, super quick, so healthy too. So I'm a little weird. I don't normally just get out of bed and have coffee first thing in the morning, but as long as it's before 2 or 3 p.m. I'll have coffee if and when I feel like it. So I'm gonna make myself a cup of coffee right now. I have about 2 hours of driving ahead of me, so I figure it would be good to get some caffeine in me. So what I do is, I'm really not a huge coffee like snob or anything, so I just use these instant Starbucks coffee packets. That's how much it costs per packet. I've tried French presses, I've tried nicer coffees in the van, but I find that those create a lot of dishes and uses up a lot of water, so I just kind of opted for this. No mess, no cleanup. So today is Wednesday, and because I'm trying to keep this video as authentic and real as possible and not like hide or adjust any of my expenses, I need to change out my birth control. Every second Wednesday of the month I have to do this, so that's quite a hefty monthly expense, but it's still much cheaper than having a baby, right? Halfway through the trip, my fuel levels fell to dangerously low levels, and I was starting to panic a little bit because I was still driving in the middle of nowhere and there was no gas station to be found. Luckily, I made it to a gas station just in time and had to fill up my gas tank for a whopping $116.40. Whenever I fill up on gas in California, it's always super expensive. I'll be lucky if I spend less than $100, but hey, when your van needs gas, you need gas. I had an appointment in Las Vegas at 4 p.m. that day, so I had to make it there on time. And this appointment was basically to change the name on the 3 rental properties that I own there, to change the name on the deed from my personal name to the name of my trust. When I first bought these properties, I bought them under my personal name, Rose Han. And then later on, I found out that for estate planning purposes, it was actually much smarter to form a trust and hold those assets in the name of a trust, so that if, God forbid, anything happens to you, everything in your trust will go to the people that you specify in your trust agreement or in your will. It's also not fun to think about your death, so that's exactly why I've been procrastinating this for so long, but I finally wanted to get this done and crossed off my to-do list. So I made it to Vegas on time. I was able to sign the deeds and amend the names on the deeds. However, the deed company did charge me $250 to rename each title, so that was $750 total. That kind of hurt, and if I'd known earlier, I would have formed the trust before buying the properties and bought the properties in the name of the trust to begin with. That would have saved me this expense, but hey, you live and you learn. I don't even know if I should really count this $750 as an expense. It's sort of a business expense, but let's just count it for now and see where we end up. After signing the deeds, I was starving, so I headed straight to my favorite Vietnamese restaurant in Las Vegas. Now, whenever I find a good restaurant, I tend to stick to that restaurant and not go anywhere else. My thought is, if you're gonna spend money on something, then why risk it on something else? On this particular night, I ordered my favorites of ban xeo and pho noodle soup. They were 2 fat entrees, but I wanted to pack up leftovers to eat the next day and not have to cook. And this dinner came out to a total of $34.57 with tax and tip. Good morning, welcome to day 3, let's go. I am still in Vegas. I spent the night here at my friend's properties. They have a big homestead with like vegetable gardens and ducks roaming around, so it's always a nice place to park. And I always stay here whenever I pass through Vegas in the van. So today we are going to be paying for a WeWork day pass, and I got this holiday discount, so it's only going to be $14. I'm gonna be working there because I just sort of need a change of scenery. I need to get out of the van. I need really good Wi-Fi and some quiet meeting rooms for some calls I have today. So that's where we're headed today. So this is sort of where my grocery budget often gets derailed, but I love plantain chips. It is $4.39 a bag, but I'm gonna get them because they're delicious. I don't remember which one was better, so I'm also gonna get this. Where is the popcorn at? guys, this is literally what you call A+ parking. Hi, Juby! Hello! So that night I basically skipped dinner and filled up on crunchy snacks for a total of $12.87. Maybe not the most nutritionally sound choice, but hey, it was really yummy. Of course, I also had to feed my dog, so that was another $2.85. Afterwards, I went for a little drive on the Las Vegas Strip to see all the sights and sounds. I absolutely love Las Vegas for this. And then I went and parked on a quiet neighborhood strip for the night to sleep, and that was it for my second day in Vegas. I'm on my way to go get a blowout right now because my hair looks like shit. Pretty much impossible to wash my hair in my van shower because then I would use up all the water because I have so much hair and it's just a huge ordeal. So I'm on my way to Dry Bar to get a blowout. So that's gonna be kind of it's honestly, it's not an expense that I normally do. This is very much like a bougie indulgence that I am allowing myself. Like washing my hair is one of my least favorite activities that I have to do. And then after my blowout, I hit the road and headed towards Utah. And whenever I drive from Las Vegas to Utah, I always have an amazing time because the landscapes and the scenery is just really, really beautiful. So I was having a really great time driving down these really straight, long roads. And of course, you always need good snacks for a road trip. So I ate some of the leftover popcorn from the night before. After a few hours of driving, I got a little bit tired. So I pulled over and heated up some leftover pho noodles, also made myself a coffee. And then I'm also happy to say that gas in Utah was considerably cheaper than in California because I filled up my entire tank for just $54.82. That is literally half the price of what it was in California, so I was pretty happy about that. While at this gas station, I also bought 2 jugs of water for $2.98. I do this sometimes because even though I have a 30-gallon water tank in my van and I have a filter to turn that into drinking water, I like to buy my own jugs of water because sometimes it can be a hassle when you're on the road to figure out where you're going to be able to fill up water next. So I got a crispy buffalo chicken wrap and mozzarella sticks, which I haven't had in a hot minute. Oh my god, it smells so good. Something about long road trips just screams fast food chain restaurants. Shut up, Juby! I'm filming! Go away! Woo, this is so good. I actually do have plenty of good food in the fridge, but it's all like healthy food. For me, it's like fast food or really, really healthy food, and there's really nothing in between. Oh, he's drooling. I know this is probably not good for him, but he deserves a little something. Oh, I don't know if I give you this. This might be really bad for you. Bad gas, diarrhea. This is really good. God, I'm so tired. I've been driving for almost 7 hours. So I am going to get ready for bed, walk this little guy really quick, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. That morning, once again, I had all my usuals: lemon water, supplements, smoothie, fed Juby, blah, blah, blah. I also made myself another hummus quinoa bowl and a coffee before hitting the road once again. I really love coconut water. Unfortunately, it's a little bit expensive at $2.49 a can, but sometimes it's worth it. I always sing when I drive for some reason, maybe because I just know that nobody's listening. After driving for a little bit more, I made one more stop for gas, $39.85, which was awesome again. And then I parked for the night at a Whole Foods in Colorado.
Now, I swear I don't normally do this, but because I was already at Whole Foods, I decided to go in and ask for a refund on one of the bags of plantain chips that I bought the night before. Because when I opened the bag today, it actually ended up being really soggy, and that made me really mad. It is a $5 bag of chips, so I figured why not get my money back? Now, if Whole Foods was like 30 minutes out of the way, I would not have driven just to go get a $5 refund, because time is money also, right? But since I was already in the parking lot, I went ahead and asked for a refund. I got my $4.70 back, so that was really nice. And while I was in the store, I also bought some coffee creamer that is flavored like coffee cake. It looked really good, but I'm not gonna count that as an expense yet until I actually use it. Then for dinner that night, I made a really yummy recipe of Korean beef short ribs. I did it in my Instant Pot, and it was so good. I actually bought the meat last week and had been keeping it in my freezer. It was grass-fed, kind of really nice beef, so it wasn't cheap. So with the combined cost of all the other ingredients for the dinner, the carrots, the soy sauce, etc., this dinner cost about $22. I know that's pretty steep for a homemade meal, but if you were to go out to a nice restaurant and have like grass-fed beef for dinner, it would come out to much more than that. Plus, it was really delicious. Why is it so cold? Ugh. And now for the moment of truth. How much did I spend in a week? What was the total? So the grand total for all 7 days was $1,563.93. Whoa. Okay, so that sounds like a lot, but there were definitely some abnormal expenses in there, so let's normalize for those. First of all, the $750 that I spent on getting those deeds renamed for my rental properties, that's definitely not a normal expense. One would even call it a business expense, so I would say we can take out that $750. Also, the $59 that I spent on getting a blowout while in Las Vegas, that was definitely a bougie, atypical luxury expense that I normally wouldn't do. I totally wash my own hair and style it by myself, so I would say let's just take that out. And then the big one is gas. That particular week I spent a total of $326.36 just on gas. I filled up 5 times, and I was really on a mission to get my van to Colorado where my builder was expecting me. So in a normal week, I would spend more like $80 on gas, not $300+. So I would say let's normalize for that. And so if we adjust for all those things, my spending in a normal week would look more like $508.57. And then of course I have my other expenses that don't necessarily show up throughout the week, such as my recurring bills and subscriptions. I got my car insurance, $97 a month, health insurance, $252.74 a month. I've got my pet insurance, $74 a month, Netflix, $9.99, Spotify, $10.66, and then my credit card annual fee, which is actually $95 annual, which works out to $7.92 monthly. And for those of you who are curious, I have the United Mileage Plus card, and I love it. And so these come out to a total of $452.31 monthly. So on a weekly basis, that would be $113.08. I also want to say that I don't have any debt, so I don't have monthly payments for debt. I did pay for this van in cash, so I don't have a car payment, and that is just the way I like it. All right, and now let's talk about my irregular expenses. So irregular expenses, they happen sort of on a random basis, but you know they're going to happen even though you don't know exactly when they're going to happen and necessarily how much it's going to be. But every year I get my hair colored, and it's not easy to go from black hair to pink hair, and I have a lot of hair, so that usually works out to around $700. That's about once a year. I also get occasional massages, facials. I like to get my nails done once in a while. And so over the course of a year, I found that I spend about $1,500 in a year on these things. And then of course, I'm not a huge shopper or fashionista, but I do need to replace my clothing once in a while and buy some new shoes and whatnot. So in a given year, I would spend about $300 on clothing. And then for the holidays, I love getting gifts for my family, buying them flights and stuff like that. So usually around the holidays, I spend about $2,000 total. And then of course, there's like maintenance for the van. Even though I haven't had to do anything yet, I like to sort of create a little bit of a sinking fund in case my van needs some maintenance. So about $300 a year. It's really just oil changes. That's the main thing because the van is brand new and there's not really anything else to fix. And then I also like to travel and have fun and go to festivals and stuff like that. So in a given year, I spend about $2,000 on that. Now, these are all annual numbers. My expenses vary a lot from month to month. So it's really better to look at your annual totals in these spending categories and then divide them by 12 months or by 54 weeks to get your monthly or your weekly averages. Now, my spending in these categories come out to a total of $6,800 yearly, or on a weekly basis, that would be $125.93. So this is definitely a lot less than what I was spending when I was living in big city apartments. Van life does afford me really low overhead and a lot of freedom. I really love it, but it does also come with some minor inconveniences that not everyone would want to deal with, such as being vulnerable to gas prices, parking and sleeping at rest stops and Whole Foods parking lots, and of course, slightly unsavory things like having to empty your pee bucket once in a while. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!